Are you thinking about selling your home? Well, don't let common mistakes cost you time and money. In today's video, we'll reveal the top pitfalls that homeowners face when selling and how you can avoid them to ensure a smooth and profitable sale. So anybody can get a home sold, right? I mean, you can get the job done, but getting the highest possible sales price, like putting the most money in your pocket and doing it with little or no stress, that's the trick, right? And so in order to do that, you need to avoid mistakes that people commonly make. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the 8 most common things that I see people do that cause a lower sale price and tons of stress. So here we go. The number one mistake is overpricing your home. And I know I'm going to lose quite a few people here because people really don't want to talk about this. They want to avoid this subject for some reason. It's a super important topic, especially in today's market. People have a lot of information just right at their fingertips. A few clicks and they can get a valuation on any given property, even though a lot of times they're not that accurate because it's an automated valuation that just works on stats from the neighborhood. But nonetheless, they have more information, more data at their fingertips than they ever had. So overpricing your home becomes a bad idea because they'll pass on it before they ever actually go see it. So how do you get a good valuation? Well, the best way is to interview 2 or 3 agents. Each one of those agents should do their own comparative market analysis and come in with their opinion of what the home will bring in today's market. Now, you do have to be careful with this because there are agents that will do what's called buying a listing. And so what that means is they'll intentionally overvalue the property to try and get the listing, saying that they can get it sold for this amount of money no matter what, even though it's well above market value, with the intention of getting you to do a price reduction later and then selling it at that time. The problem with that is ultimately that gets you the lowest amount of money in your pocket, not the highest. So that being said, you could also hire an appraiser or do a combination of the two. When you're hiring an appraiser, you also want to talk to them about giving you the value in today's market. Appraisers are then much more accountable to a number that they give you, and they're not trying to please you, which is a natural kind of human reaction for anybody that you hire. So make sure you give them that criteria that you want today's value, what you'll get in today's market, and it'll go a long ways. The other thing you want to avoid is taking that value and then adding money to it, thinking that you'll come down in negotiations. Well, the thing is, people are smarter than that these days. They have more information, and typically they'll just pass on your home if it's overpriced. What you should do for getting the highest amount of money is place it at market or even slightly under market value. And then that way you'll attract the most amount of buyers. Hopefully you'll get buyers competing against each other, which will drive the value up through a multiple counter offer, and then you can get your over market value sale price. Next up, mistake number 2 is neglecting necessary repairs and maintenance. And so this is a pretty common thing, and it can bite in 2 different ways. One, when buyers come to see your home, they're looking for signs that it's well maintained and that it doesn't have any issues. And so you can help reassure that buyer by getting things done prior to putting on the market and giving them that sense when they walk through the door. And then the second part is once you've attracted a buyer and you're in escrow, every buyer is going to go ahead and hire a third party to do an inspection on the home, which will produce a report that lists every issue that the home has. Now, if there's a lot of issues, oftentimes buyers will just back out because the home just needs too much. If they don't do that, though, they will give you a laundry list of the things that they want you to repair or credit prior to the close of escrow. Now, a lot of times buyers overestimate the value of repairs, and or they want licensed contractors to do all the work, and it just makes for kind of a rocky escrow, and you want to avoid that if you can. So the best way to avoid it is to hire a handyman prior to going on the market. Have them check for all the most common things that go wrong with a home. And we're going to go ahead and provide you a list below that you can download and see what those items that your handyman should check are. And then go ahead and make those repairs prior to going on the market. And that'll help obviously in two ways. One, that buyers come to see your home, they'll see that it's well maintained. And number two, when they do get that inspection, it'll come up nice and clean, and you can move through the physical contingency very smoothly and easily. Okay, so the number 3 mistake is poor home presentation and staging. And so I think most people don't realize that the average buyer starts his search like a year or even 2 years before they ever walk through your front door. And in that time, they've seen tons of property on the internet. And the ones that they really liked most of the time are going to be the ones that are staged, that have the beautiful professional photography and are just perfect. And so when they walk through your front door, if you don't give them that feeling, they're not going to be as excited as they would be. So in order to do that, of course, we need to declutter, depersonalize, and do at least some staging to your home so that they can get that feeling when they walk through that, hey, this is the one. I tell sellers all the time that a home is sold within the first 30 seconds of these people entering the door. And so that first impression is super important. It'll either give them a ah or a and so you obviously want the first response. That's what produces multiple offers from people. That's what produces excitement. And so the nearest you can get to that is a big winner, and you should work on it. Okay, so next up on the list, number 4 is skipping professional photography. People don't understand, I think, that 95% of all homes today are first seen on the internet by a buyer before they ever walk through your front door. So obviously you want to put your best foot forward with that images. And yet people don't do it. I see all the time pictures that were taken with a phone. Phones, of course, take really good images, but they don't do good architectural images. In order to do that, you need special camera, special lenses, you need special strobe lighting that will take out all the shadows. A lot of times you need touch-up that happens when you have multiple images that you put together for maybe a nighttime shoot. There's also video that needs to be done. And we do all this because the object is to get the most people through the door in the shortest amount of time. We want to cast the largest net we can in order to get the highest possible sale price, right? So professional photography becomes super, super important, and it's really something that cannot be skipped. Okay, mistake number 5 is limiting home showings. And so oftentimes sellers, they're very busy, right? We all are. And they want to limit showings to like Tuesdays after 5 or every day after 5 or just on the weekend or something. It makes it really hard because buyers are also very busy, and if we can't accommodate the buyers, then oftentimes they'll just pass and they won't see your home. And that is against our goal, right? Which is to get the most money, the most number of people in our property in the shortest amount of time, which will get us the most money, right? Because we're looking for multiple offers. So we really have to be accommodating and showing. And oftentimes that means removing whatever that obstacle is in order to be more accommodating. So I'm not sure what that is for you, but making it your property as easy to show as possible is super important in this transaction. Okay, number 6, not disclosing known issues. And that's a big one. It can affect the sale in 2 ways. And so here in California, sellers are required to fill out a number of documents relating to the disclosure of known issues with the property, both past and present. And so I suggest to my sellers that we go ahead and do that prior to going on the market, and that we provide a copy of it in the multiple listing service, as well as just on the table in your home. And the reason for that is we're just letting people know up front that there's nothing to hide, and that we want trust with the buyer. And so they'll be able to see that. There won't be any surprises once we open escrow. And they'll feel much more comfortable in removing that disclosure. So important too, especially after the sale. So we don't want the buyer to find out that there were issues that you knew about and didn't disclose, because that almost certainly will open up a lawsuit and probably great liability on your part. So make sure to be truthful in all your disclosures, and it's really a great idea, again, to do it up front. Okay, so number 7, overlooking curb appeal. So often, it's a catchphrase that everybody's heard. Virtually everybody's heard curb appeal. But so many people just don't pay attention to it. I guess because they don't feel it's important. It's important. And the reason I can tell you that is I've had a number of experiences where I've had buyers in my car pull up onto the curb, and we all look out. Buyers look at each other and they're shaking their head and they're like, I don't think this one's for us, James. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. It's such a shame. All it would have taken in a lot of instances is maybe the gardener showed up and cut the grass. Maybe some mulch was put down, or maybe a flat of little flowers was put out. I'm not sure what it is for your specific home, but curb appeal is a catchphrase because curb appeal is important, and it's something that you really should consider, because not doing so is one of those mistakes. Okay, so last but not least, mistake number 8 is selling your home off market. And you know what? For a lot of people, selling a home is super inconvenient. It is. It's a hassle. It's a hassle to show your property. It's a hassle to get it ready for sale. It's a hassle to go through the sale process. And a lot of people feel that they're ready to give up some money in order to just get it done. And I get that. I mean, we're all busy, and, I understand the feeling behind it. But in a lot of cases, I don't think people understand how much money that they're leaving on the table. And so first off, you have to understand, economics 101 is supply and demand. And so if you just select, somebody shows up and gives you an offer and you accept it, you've kind of circumvented that process and haven't exposed your home to the market. So what if you expose it to multiple buyers, and you do so in a short period of time, you get multiple offers, and that drives the property above market value. And you could have got a much higher offer. And so I'm going to give you an example of that happened last year. A seller that I had been working with sold other investment properties of theirs, were looking at selling their home. And in the meantime, a home down the street went on the market, and that property went into escrow very quickly. So a savvy buyer's agent went and knocked on all the doors in the neighborhood, knocking on my client's door, and said, hey, I have a client that would like to make an offer on your home. Would you consider it? And they said, yeah. I mean, we were already considering selling. And so they were presented an offer of $1,300,000 on their home. And they thought, oh, that was kind of what we were thinking. And so they accepted the offer. Now, they called me and they talked to me about it. And I said, I think you left some money on the table, but you're committed at this point. So let's just see what happens. And So they went through the physical inspection process, and there were a number of items that were an issue. And the buyers wanted a large reduction in the sale price that they had offered. And so they came to me for advice, and we had discussed it, and they decided not to grant the large credit that was requested, and the home fell out of escrow. And so in the meantime, we took care of those repairs. I mean, it wasn't that big a deal, and we did go on market. And we did all of what we normally do to get a home sold, and we had a tremendous response on their home. And we had not just one, not just two, but we had 4 offers on their home. And ultimately, their home was so popular that we sold it for $1,675,000. So they had accepted an offer $375,000 less than what it was ultimately sold for. And I don't know for you, but for me, I can stand a lot of inconvenience for $375,000. So, in fact, I can stand a lot of inconvenience for $10,000. So, I really think selling a property off market is not the best plan. You really ought to do the traditional process and get it sold for the highest possible value. Okay, that's all 8 of the most common mistakes that I see homeowners make. And just to recap, they are overpricing their home, neglecting necessary home repairs and maintenance, poor home presentation and staging, skipping professional photography, limiting home showings, not disclosing known issues, overlooking curb appeal, and of course, last but not least, selling your home off market. By steering clear of all these common mistakes, you'll be well on your way to a successful home sale. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more tips on navigating the real estate market here in San Diego. If you got questions or experiences to share, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.